In just 10 minutes, get the key highlights from the 2-hour Megyn Kelly podcast featuring Michael Knowles, Matt Taibbi, and Walter Kirn from February 19th, 2025. They dive into CBS's free speech scandal, Elon Musk's baby drama, a shocking plane crash survival story, and more. Stay till the end for the biggest takeaways. Here are the key takeaways from the podcast. Takeaway 1. CBS versus free speech debate. CBS News is under fire for how it covers free speech issues. Instead of defending open expression, it is accusing Republicans of hypocrisy on censorship. The controversy started when the Associated Press, AP, lost some of its White House privileges. While AP still has a seat in press briefings, it no longer gets special access to Air Force One or the Oval Office. AP and left-wing media outlets are painting this as an attack on journalism, even though reporters still have full access to cover the administration. Many argue that real censorship happens when people are banned, arrested, or deplatformed for their views, not when a media outlet loses extra perks. The media's outrage over this issue seems selective, especially since they stayed silent when actual free speech violations happened under the Biden administration. For example, when independent journalists were censored on Twitter for reporting on government overreach, CBS and AP did not seem too concerned. But now that their own privileges are reduced, they are acting like democracy is collapsing. Do you think losing White House perks is censorship? Let us know in the comments. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 2. Elon Musk's baby drama. A woman has accused Elon Musk of neglecting their child, but many argue she knew exactly what she was getting into. The woman, Ashley St. Clair, publicly revealed that Musk is the father of her child, claiming she was forced to announce it before the tabloids did. She accused Musk of not responding to her messages and not being involved in their child's life. However, critics pointed out that she actively sought a relationship with Musk, and even publicly commented on his history of having multiple children with different women. Her sudden media tour, including a glamorous photoshoot in a luxurious apartment, made many question if she was genuinely upset or just seeking attention. For example, she had previously tweeted about Musk's pattern of fathering children with different women and joked about wanting to get in touch with him. Now, she is presenting herself as a victim of the same situation she once seemed interested in. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 3. The problem with modern journalism. Journalists and politicians have become too friendly, leading to biased reporting and self-censorship. Many reporters in Washington are personally connected to the politicians they cover. They attend the same parties, their kids go to the same schools, and some even marry political insiders. This closeness makes it hard for journalists to be objective. Instead of exposing corruption, they often protect their sources to maintain access. Because of this, major news organizations ignore or downplay stories that could damage their preferred politicians. The public suffers because they do not get the full truth, only a filtered version that serves elite interests. For example, the media avoided serious discussions about Biden's cognitive decline for years, despite journalists witnessing it firsthand. Their goal was to protect him from criticism, not to inform the public. Do you trust mainstream media, or do you think they are too close to politicians? Share your thoughts in the comments. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 4. Political messaging is failing. Many political leaders, especially Democrats, think their biggest issue is bad messaging rather than bad policies. Instead of addressing voter concerns, they spend time trying to improve their branding and social media presence. Democratic strategists believe they need to find the next Joe Rogan to help spread their message, rather than changing their policies. When voters reject their ideas, they blame misinformation or voter ignorance rather than questioning their own decisions. This refusal to adapt is pushing more people toward outsider political movements that actually listen to public concerns. For example, after losing elections, some Democrats insisted that they just needed a better marketing strategy, ignoring the fact that voters were rejecting their actual policies. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 5. Free speech crackdowns in Europe. European governments are tightening control over speech, raising concerns about democracy and human rights. In Germany, authorities shut down a conservative magazine simply because it criticized immigration policies. People have been arrested for expressing controversial opinions, including silently praying outside abortion clinics. The European Union is implementing stricter online censorship laws, making it harder for people to voice dissenting views. J.D. Vance recently criticized Europe's approach, warning that the U.S. should not support governments that silence their own citizens. For example, Germany recently raided the offices of a right-wing magazine, seizing assets and shutting it down for promoting views the government disagreed with. Critics argue this is a dangerous form of government overreach. We're halfway through the video. Thank you for sticking with us this far. If you're enjoying it, please give us a thumbs up and share it in your WhatsApp groups. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to comment below. To see more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Now let's continue with the video. Takeaway 6. The importance of personal responsibility. A recurring theme in the podcast was that many problems people face are the result of their own choices. Instead of taking accountability, many people look for someone else to blame for their situation. The media often encourages a victimhood mentality rather than promoting responsibility. This applies to financial struggles, relationships, and even political decisions. Understanding that you have control over your life is the first step to making better choices. For example, Ashley St. Clair knew Musk's history with other women, yet she now claims to be shocked by his behavior. Instead of taking responsibility, she is blaming him for a situation she willingly entered. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 7. Plane crash miracle. Why everyone survived. A recent plane crash in Toronto shocked aviation experts, but everyone survived due to key safety measures. The plane hit the ground flat instead of cartwheeling, which kept the fuselage intact. The aircraft had modern crash-absorbing seats, which reduced impact injuries. Passengers who wore their seatbelts properly had significantly better outcomes. Advances in airplane design over the years have dramatically improved survival rates. For example, a similar crash decades ago resulted in many deaths because the aircraft did not have reinforced seating or improved fuselage structures. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 8. Political elites ignore voter concerns. Western political elites dismiss the growing frustrations of regular people, which is driving political shifts. Many voters feel their governments prioritize elite interests over everyday concerns. Issues like immigration and economic instability are often brushed aside. Instead of responding to public concerns, leaders label dissent as extremism. This disconnect is causing the rise of outsider political movements. For example, in the UK, families who protested against migrant-linked crime were targeted by the government instead of being listened to. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 9. The rise of government-backed censorship. The U.S. government is quietly working with tech companies to restrict certain viewpoints. Laws from Europe, like the Digital Services Act, are influencing American tech policy. Content moderation is often used as a cover for political censorship. Many major social media bans align with government talking points. Critics argue this is a dangerous precedent that threatens free speech. For example, journalists who reported on controversial topics like COVID origins were deplatformed, even though their findings were later proven accurate. Now let's move to the last takeaway. Takeaway 10. The role of humor in politics. Political satire has become one-sided, with mainstream comedians targeting conservatives while avoiding critiques of liberal figures. Many comedians who were once balanced now primarily attack conservatives. This shift makes their humor feel forced and disconnected. Satire works best when it criticizes both sides equally. Audiences are noticing the imbalance and tuning out. For example, Tom Hanks recently participated in a sketch mocking Trump supporters, which backfired when many viewers felt it was unfair and unfunny. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this summary of the Megyn Kelly Show with Michael Knowles, Matt Taibbi, and Walter Kirn informative. If you're interested in learning more about these topics, I encourage you to watch the full podcast on YouTube by clicking on the link in the description below. If you enjoyed watching this video, please leave a like below and share this video in your WhatsApp groups. You can also discuss about this video by commenting below. To get more such videos in your timeline, press the subscribe button below.